If you just clicked on my video, you must either be getting ready to go through the home purchasing process, or maybe you're selling your home, or maybe you are lucky enough to be on that final stretch getting ready to go to the closing table. Well, I want to get you there, and in this video I'm going to share with you the 6 tips you need to know to make sure you avoid delays in closing on your home. No one wants to stress on the day of closing. Well, I will give you pointers for you to make sure you have the absolute smoothest closing ever, keeping you in control, and you will be so surprised what some people forget to do before closing. So come with me as we watch this video. Hi, I'm Maria Wells, your real estate expert on the Treasure Coast of Florida, providing all sorts of real estate information. So please make sure you hit the subscribe and the notification button so you will not miss any of my videos, which are released every Tuesday. So what exactly is closing day, and what do you have to do to prepare? Well, this is the time that you're going to sign all of the documents making it legal that you're the new owner of the home, or maybe you will no longer be the owner of the home. And this is the formal part of the home purchasing or selling process. By the time you get to closing day, you're usually pretty exhausted, especially if you're working or have many other responsibilities like taking care of children or aging parents, packing, arranging movers. You get the picture. It can be overwhelming, so you need to plan ahead to make sure you can avoid these problems so that you can have the smoothest closing possible. Well, I do want to warn you, very rarely is there a closing without some sort of glitch, but they should only be little things if you've done your homework. You should walk into the closing day, whether it's with the title company or attorney, with all of your questions answered. All negotiations should have been done previously. Your mortgage is approved and you should be ready to go. So let's talk about the 6 roadblocks to avoid to have a smooth closing. So number 1, address concerns or issues on the property. Well, I'm going to assume you've already had your inspections and you've negotiated any repairs that were needed to be made between the buyer and seller on the property. Then the next time you're going to formally inspect the property is at the final walkthrough, which usually takes place either the day before or the latest the morning of the closing. Well, if there are any issues when you do that walkthrough, for instance, the sellers didn't move all their belongings, or something isn't working, things are left a mess, I don't know, the list can go on and on. That's when your realtor needs to speak to the other realtor and get it handled. You do not wait until you get to the closing table, because you lose all your negotiating power at that point. Make sure that you have done your final inspection of the property and get that out of the way. So number 2, review the title report. Well, the title company will run a search prior to closing to make sure there are no liens on the property. Well, if they find some, and occasionally they do, they will report back to both the buyer and seller on what kind of lien it is. Well, there may be something from 5 years ago which was never paid, and maybe the seller didn't even know, or possibly there was something from a prior closing when that seller owned it. We've got to get those encumbrances cleared to be able to get clear titles so that you can close on the property. So make sure you look at that document when sent to you by the title company and discuss with the title agent any issues with the title before you get to the closing table. There is a chance that this item may even delay closing, so get it cleared up before. Number 3, take care of last minute changes with the lender. Okay, so you make sure that you are communicating with your lender the week of your closing. Make sure there is no surprises, because I always say surprises are only for birthdays. This is a time to be flexible and fluid so that there are no delays. The most communication you will have with your lender is really about 72 hours before closing, because that's when it has already gone through underwriting, and typically underwriting has other requests and changes that need to be made. So make sure they are a priority when you get a call from the title agent. Answer the phone, the text, or the emails right then, because if you don't, closing may not happen, and most likely it will not happen on the day you're planning for it. As a side note, this is where choosing the right lender in the beginning of the house buying process really counts, because not all lenders communicate well. If you're not hearing from them the week of closing, reach out. Now here's a note to self. Remember, not only does a squeaky wheel get heard, but the really squeaky wheel gets heard. So your motivation is to close on time, and you may have to be chasing them down, or your realtor will be a pivotal piece in bringing everything together if you happen to have selected the mortgage lender on their team. So stay in communication is extremely important. Number 4, review the documents. Well, make sure that you have reviewed the documents ahead of time. You will most likely not be able to review the hundreds of pages of mortgage documents. So I'm exaggerating, it's not hundreds of pages, but you know what I mean. You need to understand what you're paying for in your mortgage, which includes interest and any prepays. You should be given the closing statement at least 3 days before closing, which allows you plenty of time to review and look closely at everything. Now, it really doesn't give you a lot of time because there are deadlines to get that back, but you have to stop what you're doing and look at it because it could make the difference of closing or not, or having mistakes that could take a lot of time at closing. So that closing statement clarifies who's paying for what. So verify that the correct amount is what you are purchasing for a home. Verify your deposit you made to escrow is correct, and any other concessions you may have negotiated along the way for you to purchase this home. So for instance, did you negotiate any kind of concessions, maybe contributions from someone, and is it showing on the closing statement? If the closing statement is good, pretty much the rest of the documents should be fine. Guess what the most important thing to review is? Yes, your name or anyone else that is signing with you, that it is spelled correctly. Many times in a closing, I cannot believe that there is either a misspelled name, or especially in the case of a woman, there may have been name changes along the way with marriages. So make sure those documents are correct at a time. That will certainly speed things up so that you don't have to reprint the documents. This is the time to make those changes so it doesn't hold up anything on closing day. Number 5, send your funds on time. Buyers, once you find out the amount you need to bring to closing, which most likely is required to be wired directly to the title company's trust account, get it there on time. Prior to closing, make sure you have verified with your bank how long it's going to take them to get the wire to the title company. It will make the difference of getting that home on the day of closing. Keys are not given until funding has occurred, and that means that the funds that you need to bring and the loan must be in the title company's trust account at time of closing. At that point, when all the monies are received, then the exchange of keys and money to the seller occurs. I was recently at a closing and the buyers thought they had wired the money on time. However, what happened is after we got done with signing the documents, the title agent went to check to make sure that the funding of the wire of their escrow money had arrived, and it did not. Those buyers did not get their keys for about 7 more hours until the funds arrived, and those buyers were so stressed, constantly calling their bank and checking on that wire. So do it ahead of time. So to make sure you have something to prevent this from happening, make sure, as I said, that you know how long it's going to take the bank to transfer funds, and even if you don't have the exact amount, because sometimes closing numbers change up until the day of closing from the lender. If you have to send more money to the title company, I can promise if there is a discrepancy, they will write you a check at closing so you can take that difference home, but it will make the difference of you receiving those keys on the day you anticipated. So number 6, and this is amazing, you're not going to believe, but this does happen, is your driver license up to date? Well, you must have a current driver's license at closing to verify who you are. So believe it or not, you can be so busy preparing to move or sell your house, you forget the most important thing you carry in your wallet every day has expired. It's easy to happen. So right now, if you are closing soon, go to your wallet and make sure that that driver's license is current, because if it's not, believe it or not, the closing has to stop till you go to the DMV and come back with a current license. The point is, make sure you are prepared ahead of time. If you've done your homework and all the things that I mentioned in these 6 points, and you have a great lender and great realtors, you will avoid these issues. There may be some other issues, but they should only be minor and typically will not delay your closing. And in the end, buyers will be happy to get the keys and the seller will be happy to get the money. So now that you know what to avoid, let's go watch this next video to also help you on closing day.